What's up? It's Sharp here with the Kicked Out at 2 Dynamite review for AEW March 24th, 2021. I'm here joined by Quags and Chris. How you boys doing?
Doing well.
Doing well. Yeah. Let's get into it.
Absolutely.
Kind of creepy, but all right. So Kenny Omega defeated Matt Sydal about 11 minutes with the one-winged angel. One-winged angel.
Yeah. I was wondering why Matt Sydal was wrestling Kenny. They did explain that he earned the spot on Elevation, so that's cool. Whatever, all good for cross promotion. I wish he didn't last as long as he did. For a while, I actually have a note. Sydal looks good, but didn't give Kenny too hard of a time. And then that was like halfway through the match. So little did I know it would go on for as long as it did. I did really like that spot they did on the top rope where Sydal like missed Kenny, like Kenny dodged it and then he fell on his butt.
Yeah,
that was great.
That was cool. I've definitely seen it before, but I don't remember seeing that. Maybe I haven't seen that before. But yeah, all in all, solid. Just, don't know why Matt Sydal was hanging around for so long, and Mike Sydal continues to make his presence known walking around the side of the ring.
Gotta love Mike. I actually really enjoyed this match a lot. I got actually kind of lost in it. I didn't even really think about too much. Maybe we kind of differ opinions on that. I didn't think so much of like why Matt Sydal is like constant, like still there, even though he shouldn't have been. I thought the reversals at the end were great, where I was just thinking he's kicking out, and then like he finally got like his finish in, and they've been hyping up his finish for a while now, so it's been good. Yeah, it was hard to follow this storyline. Like, I get they're really trying to promote like the dark elevation, but I'm just thinking a casual viewer tuning into this the first time, and the first video they see is like Nakazawa with his pants down, getting kicked in the head. And then they're like, and this is how Sydal is going against the champ. And I'm like, that's really odd and confusing. But I think Dynamite always does well of like whenever they start a match out with their show, it's always going to be a banger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like somewhere in between in that I did think Sydal lasted too long, but it very much was a match where I'm like, I'm kind of okay with it just because I'm enjoying this so much. Some of the reversals, he reversed the meteor into a power bomb, and then at one point Sydal reversed the one-winged angel where in like a bizarre way where he bounced himself off the turnbuckle.
Oh, that was crazy.
Was super creative. Yeah, and I also like Don Callis on commentary, and I think they did a good, not like taking his shit, but also not making that overwhelmingly calling the actual match, which sometimes can happen. I think that was a good balance. And
I agree with the commentary point. I had that as a line too, that I thought commentary, actually this whole show, I know we usually get on them, the match commentary, not all the announcers, we'll get into that later, but the actual match commentary I thought was pretty solid.
It actually really was. I think they like woke up today.
Yeah, and Don Callis was great.
Yeah.
Besides Sydal getting a little too much offense, they did a lot of like complex things in this where like, wow, they just nailed everything, which I mean, the number one goal of someone watching a match isn't to be like analyzing their moves. Get them into the emotional, but I still was just like, I'm really impressed by this work, but I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a good start to the show.
That was a very good start.
All right, so then Alex Marvez interviewed John Silver with the Dark Order backstage. Silver jokingly was dodging Dark Order members, pretending to do the coffin drop, kind of just doing like where you would just like
the trust fall.
Trust falls.
Yeah, the trust falls. Yeah. The other Dark members were catching them. Alan Angels tried one and fell into a chair in the
oh man.
And really wish John Silver luck.
This was great. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I still cracked up. John Silver is just hilarious. It made me excited for the match that was continuing on. Obviously, they're heavy comedy, but it always just shows that they're having fun. So that means I'm having fun. When he was just dodging like trust fall, coffin drops, and then I even knew, I'm like, I guarantee when Alan Angels comes up, and I'm like, I'm still gonna crack up, and they just like make him fall. It's just so funny. And then they kind of put in Adam Page showing support for John Silver. I think organically, like we've been talking about week after week, that's going to be a good payoff. And I thought the promo was good.
Yeah, I agree. I like Adam Page just kind of giving the rub there without being like, is he going to be in the Dark Order? Is he not? That was a good way to do it.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll add is that because I enjoyed it as well, I thought it was funny, and I like that he was just like, I'm not nervous at all, I'm ready. But I did enjoy, or no, I said I was shaking in my boots when Jim Ross, based on our bet last week, had our over-under was at 2.5. We already said Johnny Huggy during this, and I was like, it's 15 minutes into the show, and we haven't.
We should have gotten a betting line off that. As soon as you said Johnny Hungry, I actually thought in my head, I'm like, where are we going to hit the over? We're not even an hour in yet.
All right. After that, Hangman Page beat Cesar Bononi, like 2 minutes with the buckshot lariat. I have no other opinion other than good squash match. Cesar kind of made him look a little small, would be my other note, but other than that, I thought it was a good squash.
Yeah, no, it was a good squash. As soon as this happened, I was like, after we just saw a pretty like competitive match where we kind of didn't really know that guy really should be in there, it would have been kind of remissive if like both bouts went back to back competitiveness. So it was a good squash. It was funny how he was drinking some beers, and then of course they ad-libbed that or added in their own little spiel of like, got some good old page wisers, and I'm like, oh god, here we go.
Yeah, you go down to Daly's place, you can get some page wisers at the concession stand. I thought
what kind of beer would it be? Just like a Budweiser with like a page wiser written over it?
With permanent marker.
Probably. I mean, they could probably brew a beer now and get ready when people start coming.
Like a generic natural beer. Yeah, everyone would order that.
I would
care. As long as you have a name, they don't care if it's like tastes like shit.
It's like double IPA with like a watermelon hint, and like you're like, what the hell? This is what Adam Page has been drinking this whole time.
You're like, this is disgusting. I thought Benoni looked good. Actually, watching it, I was like, I'm glad this is a squash, but I could watch this guy. Like he did look huge. On commentary again, two lines. They said that the buckshot looks like a car crash on 95, and Adam Page has a middle linebacker's mentality. I really dug that. I thought that was two good lines.
The announcers are on point.
Jim Ross is a big fan of doing those football references, which I always enjoy.
He's a good old Sooners fan.
Yeah. Like wrestling fans don't really love like those type of references, but I feel like those are like the nerdy guys that don't watch any other sports.
Just goes right over.
You're gonna lose. We're gonna lose half of our fan base. Charlie, come on, you can't insult.
All right, goodbye to the two other people. All right.
We're starting.
Lance Archer had a promo from like a bombed out warehouse or something. He said he once respected Sting, but it's not Sting's time anymore. It's his. Closed the promo by pointing the black bat at the camera. I forget what he said after that.
I liked this. I thought it gave me a reason why he's mad at Sting, not just because that's what's next for Sting is to wrestle Lance Archer. And he was like, you used to stand for something, you don't. Now I stand for something, and I'm going to take you out. It was compelling. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a decent promo. I mean, it's still hard to shake off that like what the idea of this is like, oh, what Sting can do next. Oh, okay, let's give him to Archer. Like that's how it kind of just seems, but like the promo was decent to at least build something to that.
I liked it. I thought it was solid, and I like that even though he has a manager and a great mouthpiece in Jake the Snake, that they still give him time to talk. Yes. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. It was not going to change the world, but it was good.
Yeah.
So we saw a brief post-match promo from Thunder Rosa after last week's main event victory. Britt Baker took the stage with Tony Schiavone. She said if Rosa claimed to put AEW women on the map, then why is everyone talking about Britt? She didn't care about the adulation of legends, and I love this. She acknowledged Mick Foley tweeting his approval. She said it took him 21 years to be a hardcore legend, but it took her one night. Baker said the AEW come in second to the most epic 3 letters in pro wrestling, DMD. Baby.
His promo was great. I was like kind of hoping that like they wouldn't really like she wouldn't accept the praise so much because that's like kind of a babyface attitude, and she's like flourishing as a heel. So when she came out and just decided to shit on everyone that like gave her props, gave her all these things, I was like, perfect. This is exactly what she needs to start building her brand and building her heel self into kind of like into the next coming weeks. And even like the ending line of saying DMD, like it just you're building characters, and this is what like the women's division needs like right now is someone who you can like universally hate and center it around. And it wouldn't come off well if she just said thanks, yeah, I know we all put hard work into it, but I'll come back next week and I'll give them hell. Like that wouldn't do anything. This was great, as in she shit on Mick Foley, she talked crap about everyone, talked crap more about Thunder Rosa. Even if she lost, she came out as a winner.
Yeah, I was glad they put that Thunder Rosa promo at the beginning. I had heard about that one, but I hadn't seen it, and that was really moving, honestly. Britt was really good promo. I kind of like to nitpick these a little bit just because you can see the room for growth for them. And there was definitely a couple times where she was thinking, what is my next line? I know that I have to say something. And then just a couple times that happened. But overall, that's a nitpick. This was really strong. She has definitely the ability. She's come a long way since she debuted. The character was always there. It's so interesting to me that she actually is a dentist, so there's a lot to draw from. And obviously that match was so good, and so I'm excited to see where this goes.
I agree with what you said, Quags, about her briefly like seeming like she was looking for like what comes next. But I did think it was a really good promo. I love the thing with Thunder Rosa. It was full of emotion. I'll be honest that sometimes I will say after you just beat someone's ass in like a blood feud and you're like, this is what women's wrestling is all about type of thing, where it's not even that, but it's just like when you pull back the veil and you're like, I hope everyone appreciated how good my match was, rather than I'm happy I just vanquished the person that I've been feuding with for so long.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Still keeping that kayfabe vibe.
Yeah, in your mind, like when you're cutting promos, you should just be happy that you won.
Yeah.
So this is like splitting hairs, but I didn't think that interview was in kayfabe, so maybe they shouldn't show it on the show. Save it for something else. But I agree that is a little bit weird. I just kind of thought, because I guess when she walked backstage, like she got a standing ovation, and then like she cut that right after. Yeah, I mean, obviously splitting hairs, and it's kind of weird, and what's real, what's not, and we're in obviously this era, but I totally understand that criticism.
But it's kind of like
right.
this is their MO, is like sometimes like, oh yeah, we're in on the joke too. Like just gotta cut that out.
Yeah. So then we saw Christian backstage talking with the Varsity Blondes and Dante Martin. Dasha arrived to interview him, but she was quickly interrupted by Frankie Kazarian. None other than Frankie Kazarian. He said he liked Katie's shirt, but he lives up to the same motto. He asked Christian when the work starts. Christian said next week and challenged Kazarian. Kazarian accepted, suggested he check out his match on Elevation because 7 years is a long time to be out of the ring.
He didn't watch the Rumble? Kazarian didn't watch the Rumble?
He made a joke. He says he doesn't work on Mondays anymore.
So I'll start and I'll say I actually like that because that didn't just like, it had to actually do with like, hey, check me out on Elevation on Monday. It wasn't just like, hey, you're not in WWE anymore. It like was like a double meaning, like, hey,
that was good.
Hey, check me out. I thought this was fine. I didn't think it was that bad. I don't think it frames Christian as that big of a superstar, but I think having Frankie Kazarian come in, they do have a history at TNA. Not that they wrestled each other that much, but they kind of made like, I think, kind of veiled references to both of them there. And Kazarian kind of is kind of someone who's just been known as like a good hand for a very long time, similar to Christian. It was fine. It didn't bother me. It was a decent setup, and I do like. I'm always appreciative of whenever you set up something for next week, because so many times wrestling companies just are like, and now we have blah blah blah, and it's like, you at least feel like I get to sum up what's going to come next week is good. What do you think, Quags?
Yeah, I agree. I said to you guys off mic that I thought this show did a great job of setting up next week in general. And I like, oh, when's the work begin? You know, you've been here for a while now, haven't seen you do anything. That was a nice slight. And also what you might imagine that an older guy that's been around would say to another older guy that just shows up, grabs the belt, looks at it in the ring, and very believable to me. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Christian Cage can do, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
If I had to split this whole segment in half, love the second half of building up the match for Kazarian. I think that was really cool of like how they actually built that forward, of Kazarian making a little gesture of like, oh yeah, you don't work on Mondays, and they promoted Dark Elevation. That's great. First half of this, I just looked to myself like, why is he talking to Varsity Blondes and Dante? And then he's just like, yeah, I know a thing or two about tag team matches. And I was just like, you could say that about like anything then. Like this was like a 6-man. That was me nitpicking, but I was just like, it's just weird. I was just like, they're all like buddies at this point. I was just like, this makes no sense. This would make more sense.
Show him as like a nice guy.
Yeah,
just like a nice guy that's coming.
Like I get like, but it would have been probably even better shown that he's walking and then just like comes up to him and be like, oh hey guys, just want to wish you good luck. Hey, like just as the young guys in this or whatever, but they just like panned them saying that like they're like talking, they're like best friends. I'm like, okay, this was really random, but I really did enjoy Kazarian setting up for a good match next week, and it should be good.
And I actually I did have the point too that you said that they're doing a good job at just being like, hey, I've got a match, blah blah blah, on Elevation. Where if you're gonna have a B show, it's like you got to promote it.
Yeah.
And sometimes like, really, am I going to tune in to watch Kazarian's match? But you got to try.
It's on YouTube. Like
they do great tweeting this stuff. Like I don't watch those shows, but I will like watch their 1-minute highlights and stuff on Twitter, just going through. Yeah, they have a good little machine over there. I agree. It's not getting to the point where the promotion feels super ham-fisted yet.
Yeah.
It seems natural.
I'll admit I watch it all, but like I fast forward majority of it just to see like what's going on and stuff. So that's why when like I see them like talking about like the whole show and they like try and like saying, oh, and this happened on Dark, they need to do a better job of that, because like no one really is like paying attention to the storylines from like Dark or Dark Elevation.
Yeah.
So then we had the Pinnacle. Their in-ring debut was FTR, Sean Spears. They beat the Varsity Blondes and Dante Martin. I guess Christian's advice didn't work out too well. Spears pinned Martin with the Death Valley Driver. After the match, Wardlow attacked Pillman Jr., and then Wheeler said, group isn't a name or a group, it's family. Harwood said, this isn't an SNL skit, it's not comedy, it's pro wrestling. MJF mocked Jericho, called out Inner Circle, and like begged them to come out, confront him, but he said they're not going to because they're terrified. Shivani said MJF knows that they're hurt, and MJF stared him down and pretty much said, when you're in the Pinnacle, you're always on top.
Put it on a shirt. Let's go. Like that. Yeah. That was like the line I was waiting for, to have something like what MJF said there. The match was fine. I don't really have a lot of notes about it. Like a lot of tagging. It seemed like it did look like, oh, Sean Spears has been working with FTR. Like that was one thought that I had. Like they kind of seemed like they had a flow going there. Just one stupid moment where they Varsity Blondes was going to jump over the ropes on Pinnacle outside the ring, and Wardlow like went and stood in front of them, and they stopped. Like they didn't want to jump
big,
on
baby.
Wardlow.
He's too big.
That was I kind of like that, to just show his value, where realistically they could just wipe him out too, but
I might be in
Okay.
between. I might be in between.
Like it's scary.
Silly,
like,
but I enjoyed it.
I'm always the jump out the ring spots, with the exception of Darby Allin, is like it's one of those things that looks great in real life and it doesn't look that great on TV, and you can see they're obviously catching them a lot of the time. And so I guess always with those, I'm like, do I think this is cool? Do I think it's maybe a little bit silly? Like, so that just kind of took me out of it just for a second. But I can see what you're saying, Sharp. The last thing I have is having Tony so involved in after the match, before the match, interviewing people. Is this like an ode to old school at this point? Like, seems like he's always there. It's too much. Like, he didn't need, they could just give, especially the Pinnacle, just give them the mic and let them talk. Like, MJF staring down Tony Schiavone is not like, oh, MJF's a badass. Like, it's just a commentator. Like,
that wouldn't be the end of Tony Schiavone for the night either. He had more in it.
yeah, exactly. So, and I don't not like Tony. Like, his enthusiasm is great, but this is just like sometimes putting people in position like to fail or just to look silly. So, yeah. But overall, I loved that MJF line. They were chanting "You suck" at them again, but they stopped. So I didn't get to see if he had something to say.
He was gonna call him out
last
on
week.
it.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what he's gonna do. Eventually, he's gonna have to respond. So I'm looking forward to that.
So I thought the match was good. I thought the baby faces got a little too much in, to be honest. But I mean, that's just nitpicking. I think they kind of actually want to build heat, so they probably thought like, okay, let's get these guys moves in, then we'll cut them off so people can boo us. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I actually thought the post-match promo was better than the match in general. Like, I just thought like maybe like their debut, maybe they should have blew them out of the water. But actually, quacked me. I might have to disagree. I actually didn't mind Tony. Like, I know I was like kind of on his case about when he's interviewing Sting and Darby for like the 20th, 100th time. But this, he kind of gave me a little bit of like old school Mean Gene vibes of like, he kind of made MJF, like everyone hates him, but he kind of made him even more unlikable, of making him feel uncomfortable and saying that like, and saying like the quirky things of like, you know, Inner Circle's not here. What are you talking about? And then they like all stare at him and made him shut up. Like, it's just like, that's good, like funny TV to me. There was one part though, I'm not sure if you guys thought about this, but like, remember when Wardlow, he does his like his move in the corner when he holds him up and then he drops him with a knee.
Yeah.
Dude, Griff Garrison looked like such a goon. Like, his partner is about to get kneed, and then like it's just like all of his buddies, like all the Pinnacle guys, are just holding him off.
I had that note too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was just like, dude, just at least like take a punch to the face, like. And he's just staring. He's like, oh, he's gonna get kneed in the face, and then he gets kneed in the face, and they threw him at him, and then he's like, okay. And I'm like, dude, you look like such like a dork in that. And I was like, but I mean, so like, it's build them.
I'm not as worried about Griff Garrison looking like a dork. No. I was like, why didn't you just attack Brian Pillman and not attack Griff Garrison too? Why didn't you lay them both out? I didn't understand.
They wanted to show them that they're like intimidating, as in like, no, you're gonna stand outside and watch them. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but it does really devalue Griff Garrison and like team or whatever. I mean, who's gonna remember it though?
So I thought it was smart to give Spears the pin because he's considered the weak link of the group. So coming out of the gate and giving him a win, I think was smart. I like the fact that even though MJF is clearly the mic man of the group, they still let other guys talk.
Yes.
I think that's smart. I thought it was hilarious that when I think it was Dax Harwood, I always forget the two guys. Dax Harwood was saying like, this isn't SNL, this isn't comedy, blah, blah, blah. The crowd, he was like, this is pro wrestling. The name like is pro wrestling, and the crowd was booing.
Like, we like funny stuff.
Off across with like, we want Saturday Live.
Lord.
Yeah. Lord Michaels. Yeah, I like it. And like Quack said, I loved when you're in the Pinnacle, you're always on top. Like, they got to get their catchphrase now.
Perfect catchphrase.
A solid intro, but nothing incredible. All right. So then we saw a pre-tape with Team Taz backstage. Taz told viewers all's fine in Team Taz world. He said Brian Cage apologized for his actions last week. Then Taz asked each member if they're good. Everyone pretty much said they're good, and then Cage reluctantly said, "Who better?" Where if you don't know his, like,
oh my gosh. This was just so awkward. I'm watching this and I'm like, knew this was going to be awkward. They're talking and I'm like, all right, this is starting off awkward. Hopefully this sets up something. And it just goes down the line. And I'm like, that was awkward. That was awkward. That was awkward. And then Cage, it was just a whole mountain of awkwardness of when, especially they saved Cage for last. I knew it. I was just like, he's just going to say something so weird that's not even going to make sense. And then he said, who better? I'm like, yeah, that summed it up. So I got nothing really much to say this except like stuff that we already said last week. They're obviously building for kind of a split up, but this came off very awkward.
I kind of liked that it was like that. I agree it was awkward. I wonder if they weren't aiming for that a little bit, or at the least using Brian Cage's lack of mic skills as sort of a little bit of a character, like being in that situation where it's clear there's dissension and everyone's like, but we're good, right? Everyone's happy. You're happy.
Yeah.
It's like how are you? Like, what's wrong, honey? Nothing. Right? So I won't go super over for this. I'll see what happens, but I didn't hate it as a segment.
My biggest thing is, I listened to some other podcasts where they thought that Brian Cage, it might have been a put on last week, that Brian Cage was actually kind of luring Sting in, and like, well, hopefully they don't go back to that, but it doesn't seem so now that Sting might be feuding with Lance Archer. But with this new, like, if Brian Cage leaves Team Taz, it's Hook. Hook, who looked like a child in this because he didn't have the hood on and stuff. I was like, that's just like a high school, like a young college age kid.
He's a young lad.
Yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs, who's not established at all, and Ricky Starks, who's great, but really that's Team Taz. I mean, they can always bring someone else in, but despite them being underutilized and like losing a lot, I think Team Taz is good, and I think
like
they could do good things. I do too. I think it's a little too early to break them up, and I just based on like how big he is, I think Brian Cage is the better heel. So I think this is an early time to break him off from the group. I didn't hate he said "Hubeto," which is his catchphrase, which is kind of lame, but it was an awkward segment. It was awkward.
It was awkward.
I'm hoping that this is all just like some big like scheme, but it doesn't seem like it at this point.
No.
Well, Taz even said that. He even said, we've been reading the conspiracies online.
Yeah.
I honestly hope they don't break up because like I actually like Cage with Team Taz. You can already tell that like he needs a mouthpiece. But I mean, like, we'll see what happens.
All right. So then Shivani interviewed QT Marshall on stage. Is it Marshall or Marshall?
Marshall, I think.
I don't know. And the less time we spend debating it, the better.
Marshall said that other than Tony Khan, no one has done more for the company than him. So the company threw him so well that he feels underappreciated. Nobody sees the menial task QT does for Cody. I think I don't even have it written down. He's like cutting t-shirts and bringing him soda or something. And that he doesn't want to just be known as Cody's friend. He challenged Cody to an exhibition match for next week to prove that he can hang. Cody came out with his arm in a sling. He said he'd give him a match with Arn as ref. He did say that he wouldn't hurt QT. Like if you put him in a figure four, he wouldn't put that much pressure on. If he got him in the crossroads, he might not deliver it because he's one of his best friends, and the two shook hands. I'll say Shivani working overtime doing these promos. This was so boring. No one cares. They're really trying to do right by someone that they think has worked hard, but you need to think about making a good television product rather than being nice to one of your employees. Cody's in an arm cast after that beat down by Pentagon is pathetic. He punched his arm like 10 times pretty weakly. Cody kind of seemed like a dick, saying like, I don't even think you're good enough for me to not attack you. And then real quick, do you guys think QT is gonna turn heel? This was bad. This was awful. I'm so uneasy by Cody.
I'm still laughing at Quag saying the less we talk about if it's Marshall or Marshall, the better.
He also was like backed up wrong and was standing in front of the light. Did you notice that? And like the light's like shining like through him and then blocking it, and then through and then like right in between him and Tony. And I could see Tony trying to like get in position so that it wasn't. Yeah, man. I don't know. Whatever. Like, this is just a little bit too much of that friendly AEW love. Like, no, we're good.
I think about how much everybody Cody's promos and programs like 7 months, 8 months ago, and look where he is now. But I mean, I guess he's just preparing to be a dad and get himself up.
I guess
if we ever get lucky enough, like imagining if some random AEW wrestler somehow joins our podcast, and if it turns out to be QT Marshall,
well, it won't be now.
Hopefully now, but
QT, that promo you kind of against Tony was cool. It was cool that you called for an exhibition match.
Yeah, that confused me. Like, who cares if it's an exhibition match? Like, why does Arn Anderson have to be the referee? It doesn't make and right, Sharp. Like, that's a disrespect. Like, oh, I'm not even gonna. If I get you in the figure 4, I'm not gonna. Like, what? Why would you ever say that? That's so weird.
So how do you win?
Weird.
Who's winning? Like, how do you win? Like, again, that's like wrestling 101, as in like everyone talks about like, oh, you got to give me a good story, and then the old school guys are like, there already is a story. There's a winner and a loser. And then this promo made me feel like, well, I guess not. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I'm also not the biggest fan of seeing Cody as like a producer role. Like, I know they do it on purpose when he comes out. Like, just like, we get it. They like him, the Bucks are all like, we get that, like, we know the behind the scenes. But when I'm watching the show, I'm watching Cody to wrestle. He's a phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal on the mic and everything. I just don't care when he comes out with his coat and headphones on, takes it off, and I'm like, oh no, he's serious now. And I'm just like, no, I just rather watch him wrestle.
I can't stand that stuff either, dude. Just cut the backstage shit, cut the meta shit, put on a good. They act like we don't know anything that happens backstage. Majority of the time.
It's like when I'm watching a movie. It's like when they compare it to movies and acting. I don't want it. Like, if I'm watching Game of Thrones or something, I don't want to see like, oh yeah, you want to see how this dragon comes here. I'm like, I know dragons aren't real. Like, I get it.
I'm not actually dead. Then we had Penta Zero Miedo, Phoenix and Laredo Kid beating the Young Bucks, Brandon Cutler. About 13 minutes, Laredo Kid pinned Cutler with a Spanish fly.
This was a very specific kind of match, right? Like, this is one, if you go to some good indie shows, or if you watch enough, like, I guess not really NXT isn't usually like this, every once in a while, but I mean, this is like very choreographed, lot of spots, like everybody gets their stuff in, like everybody has their counters to the people, like the beginning when everybody came in one at a time and they all kind of had their little showcase. I was very cool with this. I don't want to see it all the time, but it was entertaining as hell. And, you know, I'll take it every once in a while for sure. Like, this is, I imagine, what the Bucks used to do a lot more before they were on TV every week, or, you know, every other week or whatever. So super entertaining, without being like incredibly brutal. Like, that's I guess like another version of this is like this match, but with ladders, right? So I enjoyed watching it. Yeah, I just don't want to see it all the time, but props to them for doing this and showing off kind of like a different style that you don't regularly see, because people aren't capable of doing all the stuff that they're capable of doing.
Yeah, this was a fun match. A lot of moves. I'm just kind of curious of why no Pac. Like,
he's hurt.
Oh, he's hurt. I didn't know that. So that's why they gave like Laredo.
It's like a small. I think it's small injury.
So real quick, I follow Conan pretty closely, who books AAA, And so with Pac getting hurt, I'm pretty sure Tony Khan probably hit up Conan and was like, hey, can we get Laredo Kid? Because he did compete in AEW at one point. So as soon as he was in this match, I instantly was like, he's pinning Brandon Cutler, because Conan would probably be like, yeah, he can be in it as long as he gets the win. Also, Omega is the AAA in Mexico, AAA champion. And he beat Laredo Kid in like the main event of their version of WrestleMania called Triple Mania, in a really good match, by the way. So I'm guessing that this whole thing might lead to a rematch between the two, because Omega attacked him afterwards.
Right. Because I was about to say Laredo Kid winning like doesn't further anything. I was just like, okay, does well for Conan and Triple Mania or whatever.
You're probably right, Sharp, because it's probably Laredo Kid has to win, and we get to use the footage of Kenny beating him up,
exactly,
as like part of the promo package or whatever.
See, but that's good business though. That doesn't both sides kind of win.
It's cool.
I was listening to Conan's podcast because we're on Patreon, and he was saying how he respects Tony Khan because he contacted Tony Khan once to ask if he could use some of their superstars for like their wrestlers for like something. Okay, so like they were going to work Madison Square Garden, and WWE was like boxing them out. So and had like a pay-per-view or something in Brooklyn or something, and then they got moved to, they just weren't drawing as much as they want, and Conan asked, hey, can we have one of your top stars? And Tony Khan pretty much was like, yeah, I usually help you, because they've worked in the past, but he's like, this week they don't want to work for you, they want to work for me. And Conan was like, I actually respected that, because he didn't give me some bullshit response that these other promoters did that's like, oh, let me try to help you, and then come at the last second and be like, oh, I couldn't make it work for you, dude, sorry. But
he's honest.
I thought this match was exactly like Quag says, it's an acquired taste. But for whatever reason, if you go all out, just we don't give a fuck about the rules, 100%, whatever, right? They're not even trying to pretend they care about tag rules or anything. I actually thought this is within the realm of that. Matt Jackson's punches were a lot better than usual.
He heard you last week, dude.
Yeah.
I thought Jim Ross is hilarious when people are doing those dives to the outside. He just shuts off completely. He doesn't even talk because he hates it so much. He doesn't pretend to like sell it.
I could just imagine him just doing this, as in like as soon as he sees it, he just goes like,
yeah, exactly. If you hear Brandon Cutler involved in a match, you know he's getting the pin.
You know who's eating the fall.
He did pretty well.
Yeah, I like that mask. I know it's like a Dungeons and Dragons reference, right?
Yeah,
which is
he talks a lot about his like wife or something. They do like the cosplay and stuff. They're very into that, which everyone's teaches his own. It's pretty cool. Mask is sweet.
About their wives.
Yeah.
All right. So after the match, Omega attacked Laredo Kid. Then he called out the Bucks. He said he could have wrestled elsewhere, could have stayed at New Japan. He made a reference to going to New York, but he came to AEW instead. He didn't choose AEW though. He chose to be with the Young Bucks and the vision they had to make AEW the best wrestling on the planet. He gave the Bucks one more chance to do the Too Sweet, and they walked off. Omega yelled at him that they're done. Turned around, he ate double super kick from Penta and Phoenix. They hit the stomp, package pile driver finisher, and then the Good Brothers kind of ran out to tend to Omega.
I thought this was actually really good, to be honest. I liked his promo a lot. It kind of was an iffy start for me because like he was talking about like Laredo Kid and a match that happened 2 years ago, and I was like, I don't remember a lot of this. They have to kind of explain a lot. But Eric, you were just talking about with the whole Conan thing, so I was like, okay, I kind of get it, understand it now. I thought a lot of things he said was actually like kind of spot on. I like that he said, hey, I didn't choose AEW for AEW. I chose it because like I'm coming in with my buddies, the Young Bucks, and now they're not here. So kind of like it's that old saying or that story goes that everyone's the hero in their own story. So obviously Omega's the bad guy, but it shows what his thought process is, as in like, hey, I'm the champ, I'm doing well, and you guys are turning against me, maybe not agreeing with everything, but you're still turning against me, even though I was with you when you guys were doing like anything and everything. And I thought he was even funny. He said like, I didn't sit with like the head of the football team or the cheerleader, and you guys are choosing Brandon Cutler, like as in that's a funny joke, like he's making fun of him for being a nerd. So I was just like,
Yeah, you guys could have been with the popular guy.
yeah,
But
yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. So I thought that was funny. I was like, brought in his Dungeons and Dragons like shtick in while like making a joke about it, which was good. And then I liked that uh Pentagon and Ray Phoenix didn't look like goons, as in like, oh, they just saw their buddy getting attacked. They're like, all right, let's carry him to the back. No, they attacked him, and now they kind of built to something, because then it kind of makes it look like, because Death Triangle or like Pentagon and Ray Phoenix, they're kind of art tweeners a bit. They'll be bad guys when they need to be bad guys, and they'll be good guys when they need to be good guys. So this is kind of like a good spot for them. So I thought this was like connected a lot of like good points everywhere.
Yeah, I really dug this. I thought it was awesome. By the way, Kenny had the belt, and not Kenny, but Don Callis was carrying the belt.
They heard you, Quags. They heard you.
Yeah. I I have to say, after we did the podcast, I was like, maybe I was crazy about that, but no, I don't think I was. And like when we listen back,
Stand your
champ should have
ground.
the belt. So I love that. I love that this promo. I think this combined with the opening match made me be like, wow, yeah, Kenny is really awesome. Like it's easy to sometimes forget that some of these wrestlers are, you know, the very best. And those two things together just really put Kenny over for me. Hey, I think I might be a Kenny Omega fan. Have you guys heard of this Kenny Omega guy? He's pretty good. No, but really, I was just like, wow. It was one of those moments where you're like, man, he's really killing it. That was an
Yeah.
awesome promo, like the whole high school thing, and like somehow making you sympathize with the heel,
Yes.
with just a mega heel, and being like, oh man, like yeah, his friends are kind of betraying them. Like he was there for his friends, and they're kind of being like, nah, man, like you went too far. I was digging that.
Also, I loved how he sold, by the way. He gets kicked in the face by two guys and gets dropped on his head. And then he was like going like kind of like seizing a little bit. I'm like, yeah, it kind of makes a little bit more sense now. You can't just get up and just walk.
I might have to watch this promo back. I did not think this was good.
Oh man.
I thought it was just weird. I thought it just sounded weird. He was like, I chose you, but you didn't choose me. Dude, that's like what a guy says to his girlfriend in high school when she breaks up with him. I thought he seemed like a loser. And then I thought, like, give me one more too sweet. Like, my only thing with this was I didn't think it was that bad. I just thought it was kind of corny. And I was like,
dude,
at
it's
least
about
it's not
friendship.
So maybe it's go ahead, Sean.
I chose AEW not because of the company, but because you guys came. But the way he just described it was like, I chose you and you didn't choose me back. I think he literally said that. I was like, oh, get rid of it. You're a grown 37-year-old man.
Dude,
All
you're
right,
be hurting.
so I'm gonna go so deep, but it's like basically he is trying to justify all the heel stuff he's doing, right? And he's like, yeah, but the Bucks will be with me, like they're my best friends, like. And so when they're like, nah, it's too much, he's basically trying to justify it for himself by like, yeah, turning on them and being like, well, no, it's not too much, like you're not supporting me, like I don't know.
He even admitted
No,
that
but
Don Callis is overzealous too.
I like that part. I did like where he was like, I know that Don can be a little much, but he's also right a lot of the time, which I thought was funny, where it was like he does believe that he's right like all the time. I just thought it seemed too much like, come on, guys, please. Like, I don't know. I think it does.
Well,
I do not think Kenny Omega is framed as a good champion right now at all.
Dude, it's
So-
about loyalty. He's gonna collect all the belts. You know it.
I don't think he has done one, besides maybe one thing where he walked out with Don Callis. I don't think he's had one great segment where it's like, this is a guy who should be champion. This is the Kenny Omega that everyone imagined if he ever came back from Japan, this would be like the guy who's running wrestling. I just think he comes off as kind of a goof, like an indie goof.
Dude,
Who has
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I think maybe you've been too into that whole run. Like I never watched Kenny that much. Like obviously I've seen matches, but never seen like storylines. And so this is maybe one of my first ones. So maybe that's why I'm more positive on it. I don't know, but Chris is too. So maybe we'll see how it plays out. So that's the other thing is I thought he was like, you have one more chance. Now, if I expect him to like beat the crap out of the Bucks the next time, like to interfere with their matches or something. Now, if none of that happens, then okay, like it was just like a weird emotional thing.
I'm sure they're gonna have something where they verse the Good Brothers or something, some version of that.
Yeah, they'll build up something. Dude, this is all about loyalty, man. I don't know what's so like
it's all about loyalty.
Like
all about it was not great.
Dude,
All right, let's
like,
move on.
Okay. We'll circle back.
All right, Jade package saying Red Velvet made a big mistake getting in her face. She hypes up a match between the two. Says that when Velvet gets in the ring, she'll be stepping in with that bitch. I thought it was a good vignette. I thought it could show her working out. She's clearly not quite there on the mic when she's actually cutting promos in the ring or backstage. So we're doing vignettes like this is a perfect way to do it. I think this is a good, quick way to use her and keep her in people's minds. And I don't know how many weeks we gotta say it. She looks like a freaking star. So
she even says it too. So she said it best as well. Everything she says does is money. So that's good with me.
And I thought it was good it's not like a huge match. We know she's going to beat Red Velvet, but you still got to hype the match. So good hype for an upcoming match.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I'm excited to see her go. Like she just looks like a star. Like she looks awesome.
All right, then quickly after we had a Road to the Top, new TNT reality series that delves into the wacky lives of Cody and Brandy Rhodes. All I have for this is Cody and Brandy's show. I'm definitely Rhodes'd out.
They just do a good job of like building their brand. That's basically it.
How many whiteboard puns did they have before they settled on Rhodes to the top?
The top, yeah.
All right.
It looked just like the WWE ones too, like the Miz and Mrs. where it's like, we're trying to build an empire, and then there's someone in their yard being like, this didn't actually happen, but it's like the dog pooped all over.
Yeah.
Like who's gonna find my cat?
Cody, I'm pregnant. Yeah.
Movie. All right. So then we saw Moxley Kingston pre-tape from inside like a trailer. Kingston's foot was heavily wrapped from the attack last week. Looked like it might have been in a cast too. Kingston said this isn't New Japan and that Omega and the Good Brothers would pay for this. Moxley said he doesn't like the Young Bucks, but he guesses that he probably owes them after they saved him last week. He said he wants no part of the melodrama between Omega and the Bucks. He said if you want to play in the game, you better be ready to get your hands dirty.
I think that these two are really building like a good rapport back and forth. Like I think, we've talked, is it too silly? Is it too serious? And they kind of have gone over those lines, but this one I thought they nailed, and I really enjoyed this.
This was good. They're just talking about the same thing kind of a lot, so it could come off as like repetitive. Like we know they hate the Good Brothers and everything, but they're so good on the mic that they could always just like make it work.
My biggest thing was I like that Moxley has a code that he specifically said, like, I don't care about your melodrama. I don't even like the Young Bucks, but I guess I owe you one. And that, like, even when you're like this badass type of guy, you're like, all right, you scratch my, you helped me out that one time. I'll give you one back. But then after that, he's probably gonna be like, I don't give a shit about the Bucks type of thing.
Comes off as a cool guy.
Yeah, I thought this was good. Not anything incredible, but solid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Taekwonte beating Nyla Rose about 10 minutes with her hammerlock DDT. After the match, Nyla attacked Conti, but before she could powerbomb her, Sheeta ran out, hit her with a cane. Sheeta continued the attack until Bunny from Butcher Blade and Bunny ran out, hit Sheeta with the cane herself. The heels ensued the beatdown. On stage, Matt Hardy stood with his faction, said that the women's tournament was terrible because the Bunny wasn't in it. Her days of being overlooked end now.
This match was decent. I actually didn't know that like Taekwonte was ranked number 1. I was like thinking like how in the hell is she ranked number 1? Just because like she was, I mean, she keeps winning, so I guess that's a good reason. But like I haven't seen her like too much, so I'm like okay. And then when she won, I'm like okay, that was a pretty big upset. But when then like Matt Hardy and his like group came out like with the Bunny to steal a line from Eric, but just give me a break. Like this whole Hardy thing, I like the big money map, but now they're calling him their group the Hardy Family Office. I actually like was like waiting for Matt Hardy to say more, like when he said like, oh yeah, because Bunny wasn't in it, and he's like, she's not going to be ignored. Like it sounded like he was gonna say something else, so I was like waiting, and then he just like walked to the back, and I was like, oh, okay, he's done. I don't know. I don't care for this Hardy group anymore. I was like kind of holding like kind of my breath as in like, all right, maybe not shit on it immediately, see where it turns out. But like, yeah, you got the Bunny, like okay, but it's just like it does nothing for me to be honest. But the match was good. I thought it was like pretty decent if you're gonna build Conte into something. But the Hardy Family Office thing, I'm not really understanding.
Sure, would you go before me?
I'll say I thought the match was solid. Some of the strikes got sloppy near the end, and there were so many freaking knees. They need each other so many times. I like Taekwonte using her judo, where she's actually really in real life like really good at mixed martial arts and judo and jujitsu and different things. And the judo throws show that like a smaller person could really toss a bigger girl. I thought the match was pretty good. I thought Nyla again showed that she's worlds better than when she debuted.
Yeah.
I agree with the aftermath, Christopher. I've seen Bunny wrestle Allie or whatever wrestle.
Yeah.
She's solid. I kind of didn't get why they didn't use her because I think she's better than some of the people on the roster. So I like that, but I'm not going to be into this hodgepodge Hardy group. Whereas I do enjoy Hardy on the mic. I don't care about Butcher. I know you kind of like Butcher and Blade. I could care less about them. If it was me, I would probably cut them. But the best part of this was Sheeta being so late on her cue to hit Nyla. Gonna do the power bomb. We had to pretend that she couldn't get her up because Sheeta was just like out and
stumbling
in the back. Overall, this was fine. And obviously, like a new challenger for Sheeta. We've seen her versus Nyla Rose twice. So
yeah. So that's kind of the crux of everything for me. This was one of the first times I felt like the women's division, like the other women are watching what's happening and being like, oh, I'm gonna run in there, like I'm gonna take care of this. Or so I don't like the Matt Hardy group, but I do like that someone came in and was like, well, what about Bunny? Like she should be a part of this, beyond just her just running in for no reason. I liked this match a lot. Conti was not really on my radar. I thought that Nyla was gonna run through her, and they put on a good match. And then I'm excited for Taekwonte to be in the title picture, and then maybe Bunny is too, like however they want to do that. But this was really good for me, and I felt like, if we're thinking about the women's division as a whole and how they've really they have made progress even the last 2 months, I would say that we've been doing this podcast, that you can see, okay, there's some characters, there's some reason for people doing stuff, like there's an A and a B storyline at least, with Britt and Thunder Rosa, like, so yeah, they're building it up here, and this is a good indicator for me.
Agreed. All right, next we saw promo for next week's Arcade Anarchy match. with choice comments from Miro, Kip Sabian, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy. You know what? I'm not interested in this at all. The comedy elsewhere on the show has lightened up, so I'm a little less annoyed about it. And I'm morbidly curious to watch the arcade match. And I did think Miro's line calling Orange Cassidy the walking Xanax was funny. And I shouted out to you guys that Orange Cassidy got the Pixies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which apparently in his independent days, he had like a Jefferson's Airplane or Jefferson Starship song that Tony Khan couldn't get the rights to, but Pixies are one of my favorite bands, so I was super pumped about that. But yeah, the segment was good. I mean, not good, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm interested to see them pull this off.
This group.
Yeah.
It seems this is all a just a vehicle to get Miro to turn on Kip, and then to get Miro to do his own thing, which is cool. That's cool with me.
Yeah, I can already tell by the matches that Kip Sabian's gonna take the pin. Miro's gonna look at him and be like, "Why the hell did you do that?" Attack him, and then he's gonna go on his own. This will be fun, but it's just odd. I'm kind of hoping this is like the end blow off, because I do want to see Orange Cassidy be in a bigger role now.
Really quick, with the arcade stipulation, just random, do like a random prediction. I think at some point someone's going to sit in like a racing car and like something's got, I mean, they got something video game involved where someone takes like a video game break, I feel.
Yeah, they'll play some like Mortal Kombat game. They'll just challenge each other, as in like, fine, I'll play you in this or whatever. Then smash his head into the controller.
They play each other in Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or something.
Yeah, something silly like that, where like I'm just gonna roll my eyes and laugh as I'm like, all right, that's funny, but like.
Okay, so ready? Here's the media crossover, because Mortal Kombat is a Warner Media movie, right? Who also owns TNT. So they could do some, and Mortal Kombat is coming out on HBO Max like next month or whatever. So they could do something with that. They could really play like Mortal Kombat.
And then JR could get his plug in and he's like, Mortal Kombat right after this.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, at the end of this show, I quite the plug.
We're always gonna get an awkward movie at the end of the show.
All right, when we had a Scorpio Sky vignette, he said the days of him being underrated are over. He promoted an upcoming match on Elevation, said he's the face of the revolution.
Glad he referenced the face of the revolution, that's not just falling to the wayside totally. Fine to hype Elevation, but boy, it's time to put up, do some heel stuff if you're a heel. Time for him to, like, yeah, just behave like a heel in the ring. Like, this is the second vignette in a row. Let's go. It's time to see it.
I don't know. Again, like, it's difficult to say you're the face of the revolution when you're not even on live on the actual television show. I'm having a tough time. Like, why? Again, you're not showing them live, and now you're like, okay. He's like, I'm the face of the revolution, but you know what? Check me out on YouTube, and then maybe you'll catch me. It's just like, and I like watching this stuff on YouTube, but it's just like, you can't keep saying you're this face of this whole new like movement, revolution and stuff where you're not even like physically even live. It's a tough sell.
So I'm a big fan of like vignettes like this, but I do agree. They just had one last week, and this was, which I praised, and this is the same. This was pretty much the same vignette. I would have just had him just attack someone backstage, beat the shit out of someone backstage. You interrupt interviews every time.
It doesn't stop you now.
like nobody. But I thought it was fine. He hyped himself in an elevation match, which I brought up earlier. I think is a good idea. Mm-hmm. But I'm still just not big on him. I just don't think he has that much charisma. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm pretty confident Scorpio Sky is never going to be a main event talent.
We'll see.
We'll see,
see.
Eric.
He's cutting pre-tape promos and he's not wowing anyone.
It's true. This was probably worse than Jade's
just
pre-tape.
boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
With some bravado, being like, "I'm a bad bitch," like flexing.
Yeah.
Also, it helps
Yeah.
that Jade looks like a superhuman compared to the other women. When you put Scorpio Sky next to another dude, it's like he does look like another wrestler.
But John Cena, who we're about to talk about, looks like a stump, and he makes good use of it. So Darby Allin beat John Silver about 14 minutes after reversing a powerbomb into a code red. After the match, Silver fist bumped Darby, Matt Hardy, and his Empire. Attacked Darby, Sting, and the Dark Order. Darby.
Gosh, I forgot about that. Oh gosh. Sorry.
All good, because you got to end at AEW with a brawl. Darby hit Matt with a suicide dive, went off the air with yet another big old brawl. What'd you think, Chris?
I really enjoyed this main event. I knew it was going to deliver, and it did. John Silver, just looking at him makes me laugh. And then basically, like, well, we kind of talked about the whole show. The announcers were so on point, especially during this main event. Like, there was like, I was even like noting, I was like, even the things that they were saying about like that they call John Silver, they call him like a human bowling ball, and then like another announcer said like, well, if he's a human bowling ball, then Darby Allin's a human battering ram. I was like, oh, that was a pretty good like quip right there. And then
real quick here. I'll step in and say I did not notice the announcing being that great this week.
it was good compared to other weeks where sometimes announcing can be so cheesy, where I actually liked what they were saying. Like, I don't normally get that vibe, and I think Quacks agrees with me on that.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it was solid. Like, and they had some good lines, and
it's refreshing.
I normally enjoy the announcing, so I don't know. I didn't notice anything worse or better about.
I thought this week was so much better. This was definitely better. But during the match, I also like enjoyed even like kind of like some of the like spots that they had. Like, I really liked that Five took the suicide dive. Especially when they joked about how like he like just don't care about him, but like he's still kind of like the ugly stepchild of like the group or whatever. And then Sting came out, which actually kind of made sense to me, as in like when he was defending like with Darby against Team Taz, I was like, oh, it's a numbers game, and just because the Dark Order is like a babyface group, it's still a numbers game. And he came out, I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense. And even another spot where they gave it to an ode to like Anna Jay of like her like rear naked choke finisher. I like that John Silver did it, and then the announcers were right on top of it, like calling it. And I even liked how they countered even into that. The coffin drop on the Dark Order, I thought was really cool. I just thought this is a whole solid match in general. And you can't say it best where if Dynamite's about to end, they got to make sure a huge brawl comes in.
Yeah, it was really good. Darby's body flies everywhere, which I was kind of thinking maybe he thinks, okay, I'm a smaller guy, I gotta really sell. But when he flew through the ropes the one time, and he acted like he banged his head, I thought he really did like smash his head on the ground, and the ref did check in with him. I think beyond then they sort of made it look kayfabe.
That was when he hit him with the uppercut, and then he like shot through the ropes and like smashed his head. I hit his head really hard.
He is not care about his well-being.
I don't know if right, like he worked that so that it looked a lot harder than it did, but that looked really bad. And then on a pretty unassuming thing, John Silver dislocated his shoulder when he went over the barricade. And yeah, I watched the video a bunch today, and long-time listeners know I dislocated my shoulder like 7 times. So I definitely know what it looks like and what it looks like when you put it back in. And yeah, he was on the ground and he was like, I can't, like, he's trying to move his arm. And somebody came over and they put it back in. And so when it's back in, like, you can do stuff. It just hurts. And it's like not really stable. So it looked like he was working an injury, but I think really like he was like, oh, I can't hit with my right arm right now. And so shout out to John Silver for finishing the match and looking like a champ doing it and making it look like a work. That was awesome. And yeah, like Darby doing the coffin drop on the whole Dark Order at in that spot. I really enjoyed that. The Sting stuff did make sense, but also made sense that it wasn't like he came out and just started swinging. He was like, no,
Right.
like let these guys handle it. Like I hated the ending of the show. Not the ending of the match. By the way, we get on them for roll-ups. I don't know if there was one roll-up this whole entire Dynamite, so that's great.
They listened.
Yeah, somebody creative is listening to us. Really solid match, really delivered. For a minute I was like, maybe John Silver is gonna win, which I was like, imagining that it's gonna be an upset. That seems just totally not feasible. But Darby has been such a good TNT champ, and this was a good match. And in my rabbit hole of looking up the John Silver injury, saw like, Darby cut a promo after the show went dark, like thanking the crowd and being like, I'm pretty sure John Silver got pretty hurt during that, but shout out to him, he's awesome. So like, that's cool. This is super over for me, and I absolutely hated the ending, and I don't understand why that was necessary.
So I'll say, like, I'm a sucker for Beals when the guy just flings someone across the ring, and I thought they put John Silver over great when he was flinging him like a long
Yeah.
I liked Sting evening the odds quite a bit, but it was strange to see Dark Order kind of briefly acting kind of heelish, because didn't they pull John Silver out of the way to save him?
Yeah,
just for the suicide dive.
Yeah, that's like.
But you can.
But they just wanted his boy to win.
That's still cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's outside of the ring, that's a gray area to me.
Because
like technically, like it's supposed to happen inside the ring. So that was where my head went, and he took the bullet for him.
It kind of made me feel weird where they were just acting so goofy, and then they just seemed like heels during the match. Like John Silver wrestled like the heel of the match,
but it's like
fun because everyone's like a heel versus Darby, because someone's got to be the one who dominates him.
That's
which.
That's basically, if like it is a good guy versus good guy, but like if you get down to the nitty gritty, Darby's always going to be the good guy, and John Silver's probably okay. I'll do like some bad guy stuff, and it's also very difficult. Like if you rolling out with like 5 other dudes, and the person that you're facing against is alone, it's hard to come off as like, oh, I'm the good guy in this scenario. Like you're having a crowd.
Dark Order member should have came out, gave him a pat on the back, and then left, and just had them do it.
I don't know. I didn't really mind it.
They
so
did
much.
that for Taekwonte, right?
But she's not really officially in the group. They just know that she's really friends. She's really friends with Anna Jay, and which I like. The announcers explain that. I'm like, okay, this is good. But I actually didn't mind the Dark Order was out, and like it made sense that 5 like if someone else took the suicide dive, it would look kind of like a heelish thing to me. But since it was 5, he kind of wants to get accepted by them so badly, like from their funny skits and stuff like that. I thought it just made sense to do that. And then once he did do that, that's when Sting came out as in like, hey, what Quack said, let these guys really handle on their own. This also with the with the dislocated shoulder popping it back in. John Silver's fan base has always grown, but after that, hearing that, his fan base is definitely going to grow like times 2.
So yeah, I thought this was a really great match. A little too much big move kick out. Like John Silver was hitting him with so much stuff. And this bleeds into my constant thing with Darby Allin, where I really like he's the underdog, but John Silver hasn't been portrayed as that big of an opponent. And John Silver, he was winning what 90% of this match, 85%. And this isn't that big of a guy, and Darby Allin figured out a way to beat him with like and I did not like the ending of the match. I did not him just like the code red, first of all, wasn't even done cleanly. He didn't hit it that clean or crisp. And I just thought maybe if he just found a way to like get the best of him and hit the coffin drop and just win 1, 2, 3 with his finisher, it might be better, because he just keeps finding ways to just like squeak out a win. And it's just like, is this really like someone who we want to invest in?
Yeah. You're
like,
right. They should probably give him some.
If he wrestles like Lance Archer and he wins like that, that makes sense. But John Silver is not someone who's ever won like a big match on Dynamite ever. And I think he's very impressive, but he's not been portrayed as being impressive. So
Yeah, they need to maybe give Darby maybe give Darby some signature wins where he actually does, like, you know, maybe not a squash, but he's in control the whole time and it's 5 minutes, you know.
This match probably would have been like perfect if he just finished it by pinning him with a coffin drop instead of like with a code red type roll up. That was probably like maybe my only thing, as in like it wouldn't have made a difference. You could still fist pump at the end of the match. You're not like destroyed after taking a coffin drop. He does a coffin drop literally like 8 times like a day. It's he just does it.
It's also tough when you're the TNT champion, so you're not going to be versing scrubs.
Yeah, you're always going to be, and that's always going to be Darby's matches. Is he's always going to be the underdog in a lot of these things.
I just think they have to find like other ways of having him like gain advantages rather than him just getting his ass kicked and kicking out of pins and being like, how is I doing this like over and over? Which I think that's a fun part of who he is as a wrestler. But at some point, you definitely like they did it like one time with the Joey Janela match where he was mostly beating Joey. But with this match, he really just, for someone who has not really been on the card at all, he got dominated the whole time.
Yeah.
But it did make John Silver look great. I think it just brought Darby Allin down to John Silver's level a little bit more than it did like bring John Silver up to Darby's level, right? If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about our rocket of the night. We'll go to Christopher first.
My rocket is definitely a main event. I thought John Silver, was super excited to see him. He always makes me laugh, but he shows that he could always move it in the ring, and him dislocated shoulder popping back in and finishing the match well just makes me just like appreciate him even more. He's a warrior. And Darby Allin, I think, is doing a phenomenal job as a TNT champ. Did not like the ending of Dynamite with the big brawl. If they just ended it off of just them just fist bumping, saying, yo, good one, and then go on to next week's show, that would have been a lot better. But I would give my rock of the night to the main event. Darby and John Silver really showed out.
So mine, it's so funny that it's this, but is Kenny's promo and coming out and doing that with the Young Bucks. And I love that you hate it, but it was great to me. I really,
it was fun.
I thought it was compelling. I thought it really like,
made sell tickets.
It built Kenny's character more. It set some conflict up with the Young Bucks. So that was mine.
Mine was the main event as well. Despite like my criticisms, it was a great match. And this was just like a show for me that was so wrestling heavy with the very indie style, like fast-paced action where I could see people loving this show, just being like, oh my God, there was so much like fast-paced, crazy wrestling. And I could see people just like a Jim Cornette is going to despise this show. Just like people bouncing off like getting Canadian Destroyer, even though they actually didn't do a Canadian Destroyer.
Very good. I was having complaints about that last week. Everyone does it.
All right, so I'll just take my anvil tonight was I think this might be unanimous. We're talking QT Marshall.
I don't know. It's tough to get excited for. Yeah, that's probably mine.
Yeah, I hated the end of the show, and originally that was mine, but after this conversation, it reminded me of just how bad that was. I get what they're doing, but it's not it's cable television, man. Like this, yeah, dude, bad. That was bad.
Every second of TV time matters, and that lasted like 5 minutes.
Yes, that's the other thing. It was so long.
Yeah, he could have just summed that up in a minute.
Twice.
He doesn't need to go on stage to ask for these things. This all could have been done backstage, pre-taped, and just put it on in a minute.
Yes.
You know who deserved that stage? Scorpio Sky. He could have walked on stage. He could have said something. Could have
No one
strike a good
interrupts.
promo.
No one interrupts QT Marshall. People are interrupting Sting. They're interrupting
The
Sting.
one time someone
Why?
doesn't get interrupted, it's QT Marshall.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's just why.
I would have loved to just see someone hit him with a haymaker and be like, "Dude, let's be realistic. No one gives a shit about what you want."
It would make me care more if he was like still building up as a good guy in this Nightmare family. Like I would
There's
care more.
Nothing to make me care more about QT Marshall.
If it's
He
only
should-
been 2 months. It's only out
Literally-
ago.
Again, literally, why are we talking about it? Let's.
All right. 1 out of 10. What do you think, Quags?
Man, I think I actually was thinking about this a lot. I gotta go like 7.5, which maybe seems a little bit harsh, but it got really slow in the middle with all the Tony segments where he was coming out and doing this and that. So I can maybe be talked into higher, but I'm just gonna go with 7.5. I thought this was really decent. I thought it set up. I'm excited for next week already. Actually, seems like a lot of good matches. Had some good stuff on the card, but I want to reserve those 8 and higher for a real good show. And I thought this was fine. I thought it was fine. So 7.5.
Yeah, I want to give this an 8. Like I really enjoyed Omega's promo. I enjoyed Omega versus Seidel, enjoying the main event stuff, but some things like brought it down a bit. Like this Hardy group thing I could care less about. That Team Taz thing was super awkward. And then QT Marshall taking up a good 5 minutes of something we're not really about. Like it's just that brings it down to 7.5. But it does get me really excited for next week's show. They really build up a lot of different things. Christian Cage versus Frankie Kazarian. That should be good. And hopefully that builds up that storyline a little bit more.
We're just unanimous here. I have a 7.5 too. I thought it was a show. I thought it was a good fat. I actually think it was never slow. It was always fast paced, quick vignettes, like everything except for the QT Marshall.
No, it came to a standstill on that one.
Our biggest thing is that Omega thing, man. Jesus Christ. Very surprised that you guys think that that's how you frame the heavyweight champion of your company, as saying,
dude, he is friends with them. He is trying to tell them
Steve Austin was saying that when he's chugging beers and whooping ass.
Let's let it play out. Let's see what happens, because I think it's like an emotional distress thing for him. You know, we'll see what happens.
Let them take you on this emotional roller coaster, Eric. Allow them.
Man, the Kenny winning the title thing was like a year-long thing, and everyone's like, "Where's Kenny? Kenny's not up there.
Where's the cleaner?" And here he is.
So
a fucking belt, and he's still not the old Kenny, but
we'll see.
He's getting there.
All right, boys, unless you got anything to add.
That's it.
All good. Excited for next week.
Dynamite, Kicked Out at 2 review. See you guys next week.
Later.
See ya. Peace.